to give you shoe cam.
Oh, that's
Your
great.
feet on those feet, model them there. There you go. They like
By the
to
way,
see.
I brought 2 pairs of shoes because I was so nervous about the shoe cam. And I shaved my legs, which is something I rarely do.
I read in your book about you with the hair on your legs, but that's
I know, I hardly ever shave. I shave like 3 times a year.
She's that girl.
Because I don't grow hair on my legs. I can't believe I'm
it's
sharing
real
this with all of
sparse.
you.
You could use a tweezer or something.
You know, I just forget and braid it.
So I didn't realize that I had met you with Tony Dovolani when I went on GMA.
Dancing with the Stars.
Dancing with the Stars.
Yes, your short but brilliant run.
Yeah, well, you know what? Probably I don't remember because that was such a fog, like back and forth and dancing.
I've always wanted to sort of do that.
No, you don't.
I know. I hear from people that it's so much work.
Well,
but part of it really appeals to, I don't know, I just really like
You're that girl,
idea.
though. You like working out.
Yeah, I
do.
do. I was a gymnast, and I
You
thought
would
it would be
like it.
fun to train and, like, you know, really be able to throw yourself into dancing with a hot guy.
You know, I take it
all
back.
day.
I take it back. You would like it. You should apply. Dancing with the Stars. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Can you guys start a write-in campaign for me?
So here's the deal, Elizabeth, know it or not, you have one of the longest running news careers on TV. You've done everything.
I know.
You started as an intern?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I started working the day after I graduated from college. And I worked in local news for 8 years, working my way up. I was in Reno, Nevada for a year, in Phoenix, Arizona for 3 years, in Chicago, Illinois for 3 years. Then I went to NBC for 3 years, and then I went to ABC for 22 years. I'm 90. In case anybody's adding.
What's the longest you've ever been unemployed? It sounds like you got job after job, which is
I did. You know,
you.
here's the deal, Wendy. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I starved my way through local news. I had years when I literally couldn't pay the rent and put gas in my car.
Did you come from mom and dad who understood your trek for News Girl? Did they have calls to make for you or anything?
No, I'm an Army brat.
Yeah.
I grew up on Army bases all over the world. I grew up completely without television, which is ironic to now be making a living in television.
Why didn't you have an intern in college? Because I always
I did during college.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
you started as an intern. Oh, well, I count that in our career. I was an intern too. I count that.
Well, I didn't have internships in newsrooms. Per se, but I went to the #1 school of journalism in the country, which is the University of Missouri.
Okay.
And it actually owns the ABC television affiliate and the NPR radio affiliate. So while I was in college, I did work at the NPR station, and I fell in love with radio and said, I love radio, I want to do radio. And they're like, okay, great, but you still have to do the TV course in order to graduate. And then, of course, I got into TV.
What advice would you give to college girls right now?
Read everything. I don't mean just every newspaper, but by the way, you should be reading on all spans. You get the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times.
And the National Enquirer.
Of course, required reading.
Excuse me, Elizabeth.
Although, not anymore, honey. I mean, David Pecker's
You can go online.
too much in the news.
But
just read books, read magazines, read. Because the more you know and the more you expand your brain.
Be aware of sexual harassment?
In any, industry, but sure, obviously in TV news, and there's been a lot in the news lately for that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you think that the Me Too movement has changed the newsroom at all?
I think it's getting there. I think it's a cultural thing. It's not just a newsroom thing. I think it's a cultural thing. And I think that, now we have this weird phenomenon where a lot of men are talking about, oh my God, I don't know how to act around women in the office. And it's like, well, just,
Don't pat him in the butt.
Exactly. Yeah, hello. It's amazing to me how many times I've had to explain to a man what the psychology is when you are in a power position over a woman and you ask her out for a date, even if you're both single.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm like, here's the equation. The woman is saying to herself, I can't just say no thanks, like not a chance.
Yeah.
Because I work under you, and what price will I pay in my career for rejecting you?
Yes.
Like there's a whole calculus that a woman has to make, and that's not even, that doesn't even get to the boss hitting on you,
right?
Or the really egregious acts of sexual harassment that so many women experience, not just in TV news, but in any workplace.
Yeah.
I mean, we've interviewed waitresses who were brutally, horrifically harassed and had absolutely no power to stand up to that man and say, you need to stop.
She's got quite a life story to tell you, but I want to talk about your new show.
Okay.
Because I am a fan, and you all know this, of crime shows. I love them all. If it's murder, kill,
Thank God for you, Wendy.
I love the ID channel. I love American Greed. I love all that stuff. And I must tell you, Vargas, in all of my years of being a criminologist, I have never heard a more tragic case. No, I am like a cop in real life. I've never heard of a more tragic case than a 17-year-old girl who's killed 17 people.
Well, this girl is truly a legend. She's dead. She was shot at 3 o'clock in the afternoon walking down the street near O Block, the most dangerous block in Chicago, probably the most dangerous block in the United States, the block where Michelle Obama grew up. She was the real rare thing in that she was not just a member of a gang, but she was an assassin in the gang. And she was rumored to have killed 17 people. We don't know if that's true, but the legend around her is so big that that's what...
When did she get her first killed? 12?
At the age of 14, I believe. It's rough, but listen, people have been studying her because not only did she have this incredibly sort of iconic status in some ways, you know, in the sort of the gang world.
Did she have boyfriends, or did her parents, were they killers?
No, she's a single mom who was, you know, trying to do her best in a really, really rough neighborhood.
We can find out more about that. You know, Vargas's new show, it's called Untold Story.
Right, it's this Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
And this is the first story.
This is the last one.
This is the last story.
This is the last one.
I love all that, I'm there.
Yeah.
All right, so I had the pleasure of getting your book as a gift from somebody.
You did?
Yes. And I read it in 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
And I did not remember us Dancing with the Stars. I just knew your name and I knew your legend, you know, as a newswoman.
Right.
But I had no idea the rest of the story. Vargas, what a life.
Yeah.
You know,
That
her memoir is inspired by addiction while navigating marriage, motherhood, and a really hot career trying to hide addiction. You used to, like, you have some real capers about how you hid.
Oh yeah, I was great at hiding it. I grew up really, really anxious. My dad went to Vietnam when I was 6 years old and I started having panic attacks every single day.
Yeah.
It was really, really rough. And I, like many women, I started self-medicating my anxiety with a nice Chardonnay.
Yes.
And here's the problem, it works. It works at first, but then it stops working and then it boomerangs on you.
And then you had like an intervention or something for the first time. You went to rehab 3 times.
Yeah.
And by the time she got out, your husband had moved on.
Yeah.
But you're civil. Oh.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's moved on, honey. Anyway, he's moved on. And so your son is now,
I have 2 sons.
2 sons.
12 and 16.
Has the 12-year-old and 16-year-old, have they read this book?
My 16-year-old has.
What'd he say?
He was really proud of me. He now
hugged you
says
tighter.
he wants to write a book.
Yeah. Good.
Listen, you know, when I was in rehab, I was outed. Somebody called Page Six and said, you know, Elizabeth Vargas is in rehab getting treatment for alcoholism.
Yeah,
and it was
one of the
really...
people who were supposed to, because she went to the highfalutin ones where you have to sign stuff saying nobody's going to talk.
No, this was
that the
somebody
one?
here in New York City who
somebody on the outside.
But I went to 2 rehabs. I went to one really nice one and one really not, as you've read in the book, not so nice one.
Cots and
stuff. The point is that I was outed and it was devastating and I had to deal with something this, you know, personal and painful and have it be so public was really hard.
But your workplace always seemed to stick by you, which is very rare.
Yeah, I did have some people who were very supportive. Some people were very supportive. But at any rate, I decided, you know, one of the reasons why I didn't seek help earlier was because I was so ashamed and I felt so alone and like I'm the only person dealing with this.
Okay, so there's 2 things that we've learned. Number 1, this book is a must-read. It's really interesting. It's really a woman's struggle, and you'll laugh and you'll cry. Do you date?
Yes.
Often?
I'm just starting.
You really?
Yes.
How's it going?
So if you know of anybody.
If you know of anybody.
Okay,
honey.
well, girlfriend, the 2 of us should just go out and say open for business.
And the second thing that we learned is that Elizabeth Vargas has a new project. It's called The Secret Life of a Gang Girl. It's The Untold Story. It airs Thursday nights at 9 o'clock on A&E. Elizabeth! Ask Wendy is next.